This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Portian Bakery. If you're located in the Portian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Portian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone can podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. All right, so special podcast episodes. Vish's birthday. Oh shoot! I don't think we've done a podcast on a birthday before. It's just like this one lined up perfectly. Maybe even on mine. No. Yeah. Anyways, I've been spending the week in Port Union, and I noticed something really interesting, which is like the pros and cons of living in the suburbs. You know, you get like way more space in the suburbs, but the efficiency isn't there. Mm-hmm. Like, have you noticed that too? When you come back, you're like go back to Port Union, you're like, oh, it's like spacious, but to go do simple things, it's like so time consuming.
Yeah.
Right? Like I went to Starbucks. Like when I go to Starbucks here, it's literally like 10 minutes door to door because it's like right beside us, and then you can like order ahead. But then like going up at the hill and stuff, it's easily like 40 minutes because you gotta like wait in line. Like driving up is already like 5 minutes. Then you gotta wait in line, and then if my mom wants like Tim Hortons, which is like across the street from one another.
Oh right,
you know what I mean? It's it's all like you can just walk to get things in suburbs, right?
Yeah, that's the benefits of being in the city versus the suburbs, right? Everything is walkable.
Yeah.
Versus
like even transit is like when we were growing up, you have to walk to the bus stop to get transit, but the transit bus stop is so far from your house.
Yeah.
You know, or like when you're in the city, like stops are like everywhere. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. What do you find like you gravitate more towards one than the other? Or do you like one more than the other? Like, I wonder if there's like even a middle ground for this. Like, where could you possibly live where it's like you have suburb and city?
Well, we kind of have suburb right next to us, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So it's kind of where it's a very interesting mix there, because I walk sometimes in the suburb area.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. If you're like right at the border of like the main street is like all city,
yeah, and
then outside of that is like suburb.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we do have like a unique mix over here, but like there's no water.
There's no yeah. That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like that's yeah. We're very close to. Well, yeah, only the waterfront, right? Like even if you have to go downtown to get by the water for us.
But I was going downtown for Russell Peters. I'll get into that later. But the smells of downtown are just so like gross. Like it feels like I'm just being polluted. You know, people like they develop, you know, lung issues as they get older when they live in the city. Mm-hmm. Like you hear that, right? Or like if you live next to a power plant.
Yeah, the
pollution.
The pollution, the smog. Yeah.
You can really like feel it, when you're downtown. Mm-hmm. Is there any spot in Toronto that you're like, oh, this is a good area to live? Like aside from like ours, like, you know, like where's a good balance between like city and like suburb, especially next to water would be amazing.
I don't know.
Right? Like there's like nothing, like, yeah, you have to like give up one to get the other, it seems.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You've been in California?
Yeah.
Is there like, is there a spot like that where it's kind of like you can access the city, but you're also near the water? Because I follow
This is a
jujitsu
long time ago. I
people.
don't remember. I think it was more San Francisco where I was at. So
Oh, okay. Not like
not LA.
LA.
Not LA. No.
Because I follow like jujitsu people that like live there, and they're always at the beach, but they also have the amenities of the city. But I haven't been there, so I don't know if it's like maybe it's not actually efficient or
I don't think I think even though they may be close like that, but I think everything is you have to drive everywhere.
still driving, eh?
Yeah, it's I believe they have a really bad transit.
Oh,
in
really?
California,
Dang.
yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. I like when we developed like cars, we were able to make bigger and bigger like cities and like spread things out more.
I think I don't know if this is true, but I heard like in America, a lot of people like they go distances to go to their job.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like long.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I feel like that's kind of like here too. Like if you live in the suburbs and then commuting to the city is like so long.
If you're commuting to the city, yeah.
Maybe it's just a city thing. Like everybody lives outside of the city because it's so expensive to live in the city.
I think,
no matter where you go.
Yeah, I think it just. I think the reason the suburbs exist is because your cities get too packed, right? And it's not
so
really.
people are like living out like sprawling cities.
Yeah, rather
like,
you come into work and then go home, and like we have more space to walk around and kind of have
yeah.
breathing.
It's sort of like
breathing
New
air.
York, right? They
Yeah.
live in like New Jersey or something, where it's more suburban. Then they take the train to the city.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like such a time suck to me. Like it seemed better to just live closer to work, so you get more free time.
Yeah, it depends on your. I think, especially when you're young, that's why we have condos, right? So a lot of people
True.
live
Yeah,
in the city because of all that. But normally, when you're raising a family, you want a home, right?
yeah, that's true. It's
So
true.
like it depends on your circumstance of life.
Well, I guess that'll change too, like as we get more and more into this remote world. Although trends are showing that people are going back to work, so I don't know how remote it'll stay forever. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like an interesting. Every time I head back there and I spend more time there, I'm like, oh, this feels so cottagey. But like we grew up, remember, and we thought we were
it's
part
funny,
of Toronto.
even when you say that, because it was a cottagey area.
Yeah, it actually started off
Even-
as Gulf Range.
Yeah.
Yes, and then the people would
But
just
eventually,
like vacation there.
right? Yeah, I mean, like eventually, if so many like I would say like 50 years from now or something, let's say like the city is getting bigger and bigger, those areas
Will become more
will
populated.
become
as well.
more populated. Right?
Yeah, true. Hey, if they open up a Starbucks in like Port Union, that'd be awesome. Like there is a Starbucks across the bridge, but I mean like within that area.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like but it also feels very.
But like for those that's the reason that they're located where they're located, where they are located, because it's access to a lot of people, right? Like if they were in, there's like we have a small, what do you call that? Like where the pizza is. That
the coffee shop.
But it wouldn't make sense for a Starbucks to be in there.
But I was gonna say that also we have a small town vibe there, where it's like if a Starbucks did come, they'd be pissed because they're like you're biting into Mr. Bean, so they might not even go there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just out of like spite for like big city changes and stuff, which I thought was kind of funny because it's like, well, no, they are building a lot more homes in the area, so maybe it'll come in time. I don't know, but it just like it's funny because when we were kids, you think you're a part of Toronto, right? Because we live there. We're like, yeah, we live in Toronto, whatever. But like, no, Toronto's so vastly different than suburbs.
Yeah.
You know, like there is a huge difference between like city people and like suburban people. And we grew up totally suburban.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I couldn't even imagine if we.
How was it like
in
in
the
Europe,
city.
in certain areas of Europe? I'm watching some of these live streams, and it's like, if people are living in the city, everybody's just walking to places. That's all I see.
Oh yeah, true.
And it's more.
Well, it seems like here too. Like everyone's walking.
No, in the city, but like it feels like I don't see anything about the suburbs about like in certain parts of Europe, right? It's like always.
Oh yeah, true. Well, yeah, because who's gonna film in the suburbs too, right?
No. I know it's. But like, how far are the suburbs from like Venice, let's say, or like?
Or maybe they don't even have suburbs.
That's
there.
what I'm saying.
Maybe that's not like a thing.
Yeah, it's
it
like
just happened here.
Yeah, like more people live in the city versus in the suburbs or something.
True. Yeah. I mean, like, also, where would the landmass be to create suburbs?
You have to have land already, right? So, I feel like, especially in Europe areas, that
There's no such thing as suburbs.
I don't want to say there's no such thing, but it's like they're probably far away, too far away.
True. Yeah. And it's also weird how they're building more like north, like more suburbs northwise. Like remember when we were kids, if you're going like, this is like, it sounds such a Toronto like centric podcast. If you don't live here, you're like, what are you guys talking about? Anyways, so if when we were kids, we'd go like east and west and there'd be like all these cities, right? But now they're building stuff like north and south. Well, south is more like downtown Toronto, but I meant like north.
Yeah, okay.
Right? You know, they're building like all these like suburban cities, like all of people that are like around our age and they're buying outside the city. They're like picking those up because they're building now.
Yeah.
Right. So like it's so weird to think that because we used to work at like a place where we would talk about like stop the sprawl, which is sprawling is really just suburbs. But like we have so much landmass that you don't even think about it, that like what do you mean there's going to be no room left in Canada? Canada's so huge. You know, like you know what I'm saying? Like they kind of like fear like, oh, we don't want to cut into like the forestry area as a city, but it's like if you actually look at it on a map, there's so much more forest than there is city. It's like what are you freaking out about?
Right. Yeah. I mean, especially over in these countries.
Yeah. We don't really like. I feel like our perspective is kind of out of whack with that.
And also, like the reason why like the house prices are up and everything is because it's the demand is higher than supply.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So like that means we have to keep building
for it. Yeah.
That means we have to keep building homes, right? In order to
that's true.
Crack down on the supply demand issue.
But not only that, remember I was saying before I took that like webinar or I was like talking to that guy from the Toronto housing, and he was saying that back then government owned, like they managed the mortgages, so they put caps on everything, and they wanted people from World War II to buy homes so that they could settle. And then they removed that in 93. That's why it became so competitive, because there's no like government intervention to keep prices down. So that's why we're all like bidding wars and stuff. Like there's no like watchdog, you know, like keeping things in order.
Yeah, well, it's more the economy doing that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas before,
letting the system work its way.
Right.
Yeah.
But then now you have like, that's why you have like super rich people who can own up like all these like houses and then rent them out, and like then they just get more and more rich because like, you know, they're buying it out before other people. Like I feel like if you have lots of money, it's easy to make more money. But if you have like very little money, it's very difficult to break that and like make money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because I feel like that even with there's a person who purchased a house it was beside you, 2 doors down from me, and like Wob's old house, right? And he's like renovating it, but he bought it at like 1 point something million. And then it seems like he's like flipping the home, but you must have had lots of money to even purchase that. You know what I mean? Like it almost seems like home flipping is a rich person's gamble.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like it's weird because like regular people are like, I just want to flip homes, and you're like, you know what the investment is for that? Like it's a lot of money.
Yeah, but it's not the full amount of house, right?
No, for sure. But you still need money to like, what's the down payment? You need to pay a down payment.
Yeah,
and like,
at least 20% if you want.
Right, exactly.
No mortgage insurance.
So
I learned recently. Yeah.
So if it's 1.2 million, 20% of that's a lot of money still. You know. Yeah.
But if his business is flipping homes, right? So that's
totally. Yeah. You already had money to start with. That's the interesting thing too. Like when you listen to people who talk about like multiple ways of making money, it's like often those people have lots of money to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Like a flipping, like people idealize flipping homes.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm just gonna buy this home and flip it, but it's like everything that goes into it.
But there's a lot more work. It seems like he's doing his own work, right? He's renovating it himself. I don't see other people coming in. And,
it's just
so it's like that's what I'm saying. You have to have that kind of skill too. So it's
for sure. Yeah, there's so much.
It's not that easy to just flip a home.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you buy the even?
Like I don't know. I guess he's if he is like upgrading things inside, it's like it's only the cost of the parts, right? He's not paying anyone for labor.
Right. Totally. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. but the barrier to entry to doing that is so high.
Yeah.
But people don't think, or like even investing, everyone's like, if I just download this app and then I can start investing in the stock market, it's like, no, like to really be an investor is like, you need to know what's going on more than just your app.
But even doing that kind of investing, that's not the best way to invest. You're supposed to be
totally.
investing in like
safe things like the
yeah, and it's more like in long-term gains.
Yeah,
it's not about short-term gains. Is not how this is. Just more gambling than
exactly. Yeah, like Warren Buffett said that, right? He's like, he invests in things that he knows will survive a long time because he's not intending to sell it. But if you like buy a stock intending to sell it right away, you're just gambling. You're not actually like.
Yeah, and those are
an investor.
Yeah, I mean that was the risk with Bitcoin, right? It's all
exactly. Yeah, totally.
Volatile.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Have you ever heard of like penny stocks?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like people buy and sell like stocks that are like cost pennies, but if you do a high enough transaction, you can turn around like because they're so volatile, like you sell it by the end of the day and you make a huge investment back. But that does not seem like investing. That's like that's straight up gambling. Yeah, it's weird. So many and like with the flipping homes thing, I think people don't realize is like you have to also pay like property taxes. You have to pay like seller's fees.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not just like it's not like a straight plus and minus. So like if you bought it for 1.2 million, you sell it for 5 million. You're like, oh, I get the net of that, right? Like 5 minus 1.2 or whatever, right? But it's like no, you have to pay like other things in that. So the amount of money you actually make isn't the difference between 5 million and 1.2 million, but nobody tells you that. You know what I mean? We like idealize these things.
Yeah. I think you really got to think about things, and if people did
if
that,
it sounds too good, it probably is.
True.
But I do know like I do know some people who like flip homes and like it's their. I don't want to say who it is, but they do flip homes, but they're like already a millionaire. So like they have multiple millions to play with.
Right.
So it's like you can afford to.
You can, yeah. It all depends on how the market's doing, though, right? Right now, the costs.
Yeah.
Right now, the house prices are down.
But he also rents. This person I know.
Oh, he rents.
Okay. Flip homes and rent. Like he's just in the.
Yeah. So those are fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. There's different ways of making the income. Yeah.
But also at the same time, it's like he's not. He's like not frivolous with it. It's like he really studied it. Also, his wife's an accountant, so that helps. Like they have a knowledge base in it.
Right.
I just feel like we're being sold like a lot of get rich quick schemes right now, especially with the COVID. I really realized that with the cryptocurrency.
Yeah, especially with that. Yeah.
Right. Like, everybody wants to make it big. Have you heard that thing where they're saying? I got to find the actual clip, but I heard it on Joe Rogan so many times that I'm like, I got to see it, where in the future we'll own nothing. So like the idea is like the World Economic Forum, apparently, I haven't seen it. If I find it, I'll cut it and put it on my Instagram. But it's like in the future, we will all be renters, which actually makes sense. Like when you really think about it, right? It's like if all the rich people are buying things out, we will only be able to rent off of them. Because if they own everything, you know what I'm
saying? Yeah.
But that's creating like a weird separation in the future between like the haves and the have-nots. Right?
Yeah.
But it does seem like it's going in that direction. It almost doesn't seem like they're telling us that as like this is law. It's more like this is a prediction. To hear like, oh, in the future you're just going to rent everything. Because who's going to have, like, especially with the recession that we're in and, like, the inflation and, like, all that, it's like, who has enough money to actually go around buying, like what we take for granted as kids?
Yeah, but I also hear where it's like, it may be better to rent versus owning.
Yeah, 100, bro, okay. All right.
What they mean by that
for a while though. That's what I've been saying for a while.
Yeah, what they mean by that is instead of putting the down payment on the house, right? Let's say the percentage rate of the house price increasing is slower, but there's like other expenses as well. But you instead of putting that money into a house, you put that into the market.
Yeah, no,
That's
for
what
sure.
that's what they're trying to say. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, for sure. It's like people, like the only good thing about a mortgage is that you can leverage more debt off of your mortgage, right? So like if you have a house, you can get more debt to purchase things on credit because you're leveraging it against your house, right? But at the end of the day, it almost feels like a house is almost like a sunk cost. Like you're just not getting that back. Like you're living
Well,
there
no.
forever.
Well, generally people are putting it into the house as as a retirement thing.
That's what I mean. So you're living there forever. That's end of story. If you buy a house,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, yeah.
Because like think about moving from place to place, and like it's just so much work involved in finding a real estate investor, or like a real estate person to like sell it for you. You have to pack up everything.
Yeah.
Like literally, I feel like if you purchase a home, it's like it's just so much work to keep moving from home to home.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to move multiple times.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like it almost seems like an end to your story, essentially, like your movement story, right?
Yeah.
But you're also so indebted into that. Like it's not only just like the costs associated with like moving that are stopping you from freely going around, but also like you're in debt for so much more money now. You know, that's why like when you're like, oh, it seems better to rent. It's like, yeah, it seems more freeing to rent. Because like let's say, okay, you buy a house and then climate change happens. You're like, oh, I gotta move. Well, if you own the house, it's like, well, I gotta put that up for sale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe that's just my like new school mentality, or like
I think that is a lot of the mentality.
right, like the newer mentality. I think so. You know, I don't really know. Like, obviously, there are people who are still buying houses and stuff who are like our age, but this prediction of like you'll own nothing, you'll just rent everything. It seems like that is where it's going to go, and it seems a little more beneficial. It's like leasing cars. You're renting the car if you lease a car.
Yeah.
But doesn't that sound better because you give it back? If they figure out a better way to do it, obviously, like it's still a lot of money to lease a car. Like the pros and cons of like just purchasing a car are still like close.
I would have leased if I had the option.
Oh, okay, yeah, but you didn't lease. Well, why didn't you lease?
Because if the option, I would have started off with the lease, but if the option was at the end that I could buy it out.
Lease to buy.
Lease to buy.
Lease to own, sorry.
Yeah, or lease to own, yeah. So like that's what I was, because most car companies have that kind of thing. But it was for them, for Tesla, it was more like they want it back because they want to do that whole robo-taxi thingy, right?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So that's why I decided to just buy it then.
Oh, okay, interesting.
It's better off to just buy it versus
yeah, we're
leasing
still,
it and then I would have to return it.
Right? Yeah, we're still in that transitionary phase now where it's like if they made it more easier to just like lease or rent things, everybody would go towards that option. Like I feel like ownership is an old school mentality. Unless you're rich. I mean, if I had like lots of money, I'll own it, of course. Right?
Yeah.
Own it, rent it out.
Right.
I'd become the monopoly dealer.
Yeah.
But I feel like regular people, you know, like it's easy for like Joe Rogan to be like, oh yeah, I should own that because like, yeah, you have $100 million. But like a regular person, you know, it seems like renting will be the most beneficial thing in the future. Which is interesting because it's like, what does that say about our belief systems of the past? You know what I mean? Like the way we used to think about things is radically shifting.
Yeah, ownership meant a lot before, right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like, what is the definition of, like family now, right? So you can have like two parents who have like a dog child, right? Like essentially my situation, right? So it's like, what does the nuclear family look like going forward? Nuclear family, like mom, dad, two kids. Yeah. It's like the white picket fence. That's like the story that we were sold, right? As kids.
Sure.
Right? Like everyone said that, right? Like, oh, I want to own a house with white picket fence.
Yeah.
Have a dog, two kids, blah, blah, blah. You know what really messed me up for that? When I was studying business, we were in finance, and we were talking about marketing for insurance companies. And then they're like, the story, the like graduate, go to school, get a car, get a house, get a family. That whole narrative was shaped by insurance companies because they wanted to sell insurance. So like you got to think about your kids for the future. So like if there's no defined way people live their lives, then how do you sell them things for their life? So they created that whole narrative.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
But then now I kind of feel like we're realizing that we don't need to follow the pre-programmed narrative. And I think that continuously changes over time. Like our generation was kind of like, maybe we don't need to. And then the next generation is like, oh, I fully don't need to. You know?
Yeah.
Do you agree? Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. That's why we need to have more immigrants or more people coming in because our population will decrease.
Oh, yeah, fair. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's another interesting thing too, right? Because it's like we are reducing. All right, I don't even understand that perspective though, because it's like, Elon Musk is all about like our population is decreasing, right? And that's why he wants to make lots of children.
Sure.
Theoretically, like Nick Cannon too is another one.
He's him.
Yeah, Nick Cannon. It's all over the news. Just like Nick Cannon and Elon Musk are like in a race for the most babies, because they both believe that like we need to proliferate, right? But in other parts of the world, they have like one-child policies, like in China.
Not anymore.
Oh, not anymore.
No.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because they realize it's messing with their population.
Okay.
They removed it so the people who've had the one child, those kids can have 2 kids.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. But all right, even still, it's not like 7 billion plus people are going to disappear overnight.
No. He's talking about generally
like North America. Yeah, so it's like, okay, like what you said, just import more immigrants. And it's like,
that's what we do.
Yeah, right? And like, that sounds so bad, import more immigrants.
It does, but it's like...
But like let them in, essentially. But it's like, well, one, you don't know.
Well, that was the whole idea of America, was they're all from immigrants. Everything was from...
Yeah, for sure.
Immigrants.
Yeah, totally. All right, you know what? I'm just going to jump into the Russell Peters thing because I was actually like segueing everything subtly.
Okay.
So this is everything he talked about in his stand-up special. This guy is like a legend of like, okay, so I would say Kevin Hart is like the king of like green comedy. Not green, like PC comedy, like very, not PC, it's like very family friendly.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Everyone can go to that. Nobody's going to get hurt. Okay.
Like a good blockbuster.
A blockbuster comedy. Yeah. He's really good at it. Like I saw his show. Amazing. And then Dave Chappelle is very good at like examining society. Okay. Russell Peters was like all about culture. It's like he knew so much more about people's culture than they did. So like one person was like, he's like, what's your name? Totally giving away his bits, but he's like, what's your name? And the guy was like, Sam. And he's like, you mean Samir? And then he's like, yeah, it is Samir, because like he looked like of that thing, right? But he was making fun of the fact that you're trying to be white in this society of like, we should celebrate our cultures, you know? And one thing he brought up that was interesting is we're shifting more towards a emotion-based society. So what he means by that is like, when there are no problems, what do you argue about? Identity, right? But he also brought up the fact that if you dug up someone's bones, they will be able to be like, oh, he was, 6 foot, male, he had this bone mass, whatever, right? But we're living in a society of feelings now, which is not scientifically based. And that's why we have everyone arguing for like what their gender or identity is.
Right.
And it was interesting because he was saying how most people, so we were laughing so hard, but people were pissed, and he knew it. He was like, anyone under 33 is probably really mad at me right now. And it's like, oh, but I'm 33. So I was like, I'm like right on the fence, but like.
He said under 33.
Under 30. Anybody who's 33 and under.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Anybody who's 33 and under. they're a part of the millennial generation that's like all about like, no, let's correct this, that's on PC. Like you're saying like a lot of things that people were like, ooh, but it was really funny, you know, but it's like taboo to bring up. And he was bringing up the idea of like that's what we've become. We've become so soft that we're emotion driven because there's no hardship anymore. You know, and I totally agree with. I feel that too now. You know, like when you. Okay, it's sort of like the thing about I think it was like the depression we talked about before. Do you remember? Like, and I was like, if you bring up emotions and you have no way to regulate your emotion, you're just bringing up problems without any solutions. So if we are an emotion-driven society and people want to identify as like a table, that was a joke, like I wanted to identify as a table, but like you have no emotional regulation to be like, are you sure you're a table? You know, now we're just running amok because anybody could be anything at this point, you know? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like,
wonder if it was like if it roots down to like the participation trophies. It's like
it may be, right? Everyone should be like appreciated.
Everyone's a winner.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. Yeah, right. Like, what are you saying though? Is like I accept whoever you feel you want to be.
Yeah.
But like, you shouldn't get mad at me if I look at you and I assume you're like a male.
Yeah.
You're like, hey man, I identify as like this. It's like, but I can't tell that just by looking at you.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
So you know, it's like I feel like we're hitting, but then after, because I was like, oh wow, this totally makes sense. But then I was like, am I just racist? Like I didn't understand like which side. Like, am I on the right side or the wrong side? Because I agreed with him. But like the way the world is changing now is very inclusive, which I totally agree with too. I totally believe in inclusivity, but like I feel like we need some sort of like emotional regulation or like a police system to be like, oh, this is a bit too far, guys. But I feel like there is none of that anymore. You know, like I told you I did the GBA plus training and like, plus now they had to add plus to the end of like that inclusivity thing because it could be anything. So it's like you,
right.
If you don't identify with any of these, the plus was added because whatever comes up in the future. But if it's open-ended, it's like how do you stop me from being a troll? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so a great example is when your brother was like, I got told to leave the casino when I was 16, right? And I said, well, what if you told him you identified as a 21-year-old? Right? But it's like that's not true back then, but it's true now.
Yeah.
Will that apply? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Who's policing the, like, if you have any system, people are going to take advantage of the system. How do you stop people from taking advantage? That's my question. I don't know. That's why I feel like we need to pull back the reins a bit. Like, guys, let's chill.
Yeah. No, I agree.
You know, until we figure this out. Because there are loopholes. I could walk into a girl's bathroom right now, like as a pervert, and then they'd be like, get out. And I'm like, no, I identify as a woman. And then it's like, what do we do about this?
Yeah.
You know, even if it's so obvious that I don't, like if I'm just a straight up pervert, you know, but you have to let me in now? I don't know. I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, no, I know.
You know,
because I saw like a video like that where there was ladies complaining because when a transgender person that looked like a male, right? So was in the females' washroom.
Oh, okay.
It was like at a yoga place. I don't remember what it was exactly, but it was like a video where the females were complaining to the reception, like, this can't.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that.
He's a full-on guy.
Yeah.
Like, what? And then what if you okay, what about this? What if I identify as a female, but I'm a lesbian? I'm a guy.
Yeah.
But I'm a male who identifies as a female, but I'm a lesbian. So I go to the girls' washroom because I'm into girls.
Yeah.
But I can get in because I identify as a female. Do you see the loophole? Like, but it's like, why can't we have the conversation? And then if I ask that question, you get mad at me. But it's like, why would you get mad at me? This is a legitimate question.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then people who are on the positive side of that, they're like, well, people wouldn't do that. You know? It's like,
Yeah, I think that's incorrect to say. I feel like
we have to assume that everyone's trying to like swindle us, essentially. Obviously, that's like a cynical point of view.
Or we have to do the actual separation, which is the male, female, and unisex.
Oh, and then they can go to that washroom. Well, they have that at Yorkdale. They have like a it's so funny every time.
But you have to do it like that. You have to do it like that.
Yeah, I guess so. Or like other, you know.
Yeah. No, it's like anyone can go in that one.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like, yeah. Not even unisex, because there's like non-binary people.
Yeah, whatever. Right? Yeah, I don't know what the label is, but I'm just saying like that's just this. That would be one, like, if you feel comfortable going in that one, you go in that one.
That's so interesting, right? It's like, or you just have individual bathrooms where you...
Oh, you do that. Yeah, one person at a time. But that doesn't...
But that doesn't solve everything, too, because there's like, you know, what if... Okay, what about that? It's a bad example. Not a bad example, but like a trolley example. Let's say one day they're like, we're going to give reparations to all black people. All of a sudden I identify as a black person. So it's like, how do you stop that? Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel like we're in this, we're moving too fast in the progressive zone that it's like, we're not sure how to pull back.
Yeah, this is where we got to look at science. I feel like this is the only way that it can...
See, exactly. That's what Russell Peters is bringing up. He's like, if we just look at it scientifically, like, I don't care what your feelings are. Let's just look at the science. You know, which is what I felt like I agreed with too. But then now it seems like, am I a racist because I believe that? Or like, am I anti-inclusion because I believe that? You know?
There's...
Because people were getting pissed. People were literally walking out of that comedy thing, and me and my sister were like, damn, he's like pissing off people. But just because he's pointing out these literal things, like this, everything I'm saying isn't a part of his act. Like, these are like, the idea is similar to his act, but like, just these simple questions, it's like people can't even hear it.
Yeah.
Right? How does that work? I don't know. Like, how do you build a society so progressive that you're almost doing away with rules? You're creating rules that undo rules. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you're so inclusive that you're like undoing all of the things that make us a society, like male, female, you know, like where do you draw the line? Can I identify as a manager if I'm you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm just like a entry level person, I identify as a manager.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't never work, right? But yeah, right. I understand. I understand what you mean.
We keep structure for things that require structure.
Yeah.
And then things that don't require structure, we let go. You know, like identity. Sure, we'll let that go. But that's like spilling into our structure now. Right?
Yeah.
Because if you have you heard, you know what dead naming is? I didn't even know what this was.
No.
All right, so dead naming, it sounds so negative, right? Dead naming.
Yeah.
It's when you use it's when you use the name of the person who's transitioned, the old name of the person who's transitioned.
Oh, okay, wow.
So like Elliot Page,
calling her Ellen.
You call him Ellen Page, you're dead naming.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Because that person's gone, bro.
Right.
So it's like, now that's spilling over to our structured side, because if you dead name, you can get sued. I was like, oh, okay.
You get sued?
Yeah, there's like a whole controversy. Well, maybe sued, yeah. Or like, it depends on how far they...
Well, you can get sued, but would that work?
I don't know.
You'd have to prove
how about this?
that you didn't know.
You can get canceled.
Yeah, that's a societal thing, yeah.
Right?
That's a societal thing.
And you're like done for.
That's likelihood, yeah.
Right? So it's like, where do we draw the line?
Yeah, there is a... That's why there's a divide in the people, right? There are people that are that was the whole point of, you could have seen that with the Trump people, or
Yeah,
I would say,
totally.
like that is an
Totally, yeah,
actual
yeah.
like divide there,
Yeah.
because they wouldn't agree with.
You know, one thing that he also brought up that I think also aids in this. All right, I think at the end of the day, it all has to do with like a lack of mental management. You know, if you don't have good control over your mind, then your mind can run amok. So it's like you can identify as a table if you didn't sentiently, like, really, do I know what it feels like to be a table? You know what I mean? Like, why am I telling, like at least do some self-reflection and be like, are you sure you want to identify as a table?
Right.
Why do you want to identify as a table?
Yeah.
But I feel like people are so impulse driven now that they just want to do anything, right?
And I think it can be detrimental also when it's like, when they just listen to the kids saying that, first of all, like, kids are really just about exploring, right?
Yeah.
It's like, maybe one day I'm like, oh, I feel like I wanna,
Yes, I see,
you know what I
I
mean?
see where you're going with
And then
this.
and then
Yeah,
if the
yeah.
parents go through with the believing like he's actually like it should be
Yeah.
a trans male or female, right? So it's like, and they go through with the pills. There
Yeah.
are stories where it's like, I shouldn't have transitioned because that's
Yeah.
not who I really was.
For sure.
I was just exploring.
For sure. So like, even with that, all right, that's a great point. So like, when do you bring in agency? So it's like, you have the right to, like, we all know scientifically that the prefrontal cortex, your logical process, doesn't solidify until you're 25.
Yeah.
Right? And you're also not at the age of adulthood until you're, let's say, 21. We'll take the highest age
Sure.
limit, right? 18 in Canada, but 21 there, right? So
Well, it's 18 everywhere.
21, you can't drink.
That's a different. The drinking category is different, but it's still like 18 is the adult.
Oh, okay. All right, so let's say 18 then. You're still in your teens. If you're like 12 years old and you decide that you're like, I feel like this, like, not to sound callous, but maybe give it a couple years. You know, like, have you thought this through?
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of like self-reflection, mental management. Actually, I just read a book about self-reflection. Actually, that's kind of weird. But like, the whole point was like, observe your mind, you know? And I feel like, no, I don't feel like, I know that if the only cure for emotion is mental observation, meditation, right? You need to like see what's going on in your mind, observe the contents of your thoughts, right? What am I actually thinking about?
Yeah.
Right? But if that's not a daily practice for everyone, then you're just running off emotion. And there is no stopgap.
Yeah.
There is no way to like pull in the reins. Well, one day I feel like this, I'm running off impulse, you know? But like, if you just take a moment, hold on, breathe, like, why do you feel this way?
Right.
You know, but nobody's teaching that. Nobody's like, that's not like a widely understood concept. And because it's not widely understood, we're just a society that's based off of emotion, running off of like straight emotion. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the unique thing that he brought up at the end, which actually made total sense, is this was like his closing bit. Sorry. So he was talking to a vegan. So he's like, "Why are you vegan?" And she was like, "I watched the movie What the Health."
Okay.
The documentary.
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
changed my mind, right? He's like, "Oh my God, that's so profound. Like, it's amazing that actually happened to you, right?" He's like, "How many times did you watch it?" "One time." So you watched the documentary one time, you gave it
Changed
no
your-
other thought, you became vegan. You didn't even look into like the nutritional aspects of it, like a literal, anything that's created is essentially propaganda, because propaganda is the sharing of ideas, right? So like a documentary is propaganda, whether it's for like good or bad.
Yeah, that's why you should question it. Like, it's an interesting.
Exactly. It's interesting. You should question everything though.
Yeah.
Right? So this person watched the documentary one time, became vegan, changed their entire life, right? But over influence, over emotion, over irrationality.
Yeah.
Just take a moment, be like, let me just observe the contents of my thoughts. Like, why do I want to do this? Have I looked into like the actual health benefits of becoming vegan? Or did I just watch the documentary? because
Okay.
I have a personal story about this where this was so fascinating to me because I watched it happen in real time. So like Tara went from being, sorry to put your business out there, but she went from being like eats everything to vegetarian to vegan. And I like joined that because I was like, okay, let me see what this is like, right? And she was like all about it, whatever. You know, oh, it's like better for you. Mind you, she didn't study health at that time,
Yeah.
right?
It's still young. Yeah,
Still
that's,
young,
that's
right?
exploring.
Like,
We're
yeah,
exploring.
We're exploring, right? We're watching documentaries, reading a couple books. Veganism sounds good. So I was listening to like Joe Rogan talk about it, who had like science experts on, and then like know the benefits of eating meat. So I was like, hey, maybe we should actually go back to eating meat because all these health benefits. It's like, no, meat's evil, right? It's perspective.
Yeah.
Goes to holistic nutrition, not vegan anymore.
Yeah. Talking about Tara.
She texted me. Text us. You?
Me, yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. It's your birthday. So like, isn't that interesting? It's like you took actual schooling about nutrition.
Yeah.
And then she went like, oh, veganism's not good for you. Right. And then like her friends who are vegan are like, oh, you were a traitor. You know, like, wait, but I'm studying science, bro.
Yeah.
I am actually seeing that there's a deficit. Like, you cannot get your iron supplements high enough. You cannot get your protein high enough, right? But she's also just a holistic nutrition. So it's like, yeah, okay, that's a 2-year course. So maybe it'll change over time. So then she's studying being a naturopathic doctor. She's about to graduate. Even more evidence to being not vegan, how it's really not good for you. Like, the most optimal diet, her prof was saying, was like, you could be vegetarian but with 1 chicken breast because you need that animal protein,
Right.
for like many like biological reasons, right? So you're telling me that, so like, if old Tara met new Tara, old Tara would have been like, you don't know what you're talking about, blah blah blah, but then new Tara's like, no, I have the science. So it's like society is in the old Tara mode, which is like, we're just going to go off of
Emotion.
other
emotion. Yeah.
other people's opinions, right? Which goes back to this whole identity thing. It's like, I feel like we need to put,
In some places they're correct. Like, I think it's like, if you're really disagreeing with factory farming,
no, totally,
right? Like,
for
those
sure.
are all things that are true.
They're true, but we need it.
But like, that doesn't mean you stop eating meat.
Right? Maybe reduce the consumption.
Maybe, yeah, or we ask for things that are like better
For sure.
treatment for animals and
Yes.
things like that. Yeah.
See, those things make more sense. Like, we don't need to give up. We don't need to eat Beyond Meat burgers, you know? Right? Does that make sense? Like, when people are like, oh, I'm eating a Beyond Meat burger, it's like, 1, we don't know what chemicals are in there, you know?
But also, it's
And 2, it's like, you're just eating meat, bro.
no. But it's also saying like you want to eat meat.
Exactly.
But you just
eat the
can't.
goddamn meat, bro. Like, what? And there's also like other stuff associated with veganism, which is like when like soy fields are like,
Oh yeah.
they're like,
Yeah.
to do there's a thing called monocrop so one type of produce being planted,
Yeah. They're causing. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So they have to wipe out an entire field of like nutrients on the land in order to create just one type of thing, which is like soy fields or whatever, to like make food, make enough soy for all of us, right? And that's just destroying wildlife. So when we talk about like killing animals and how that's bad, it's totally bad. But there's also bad stuff on the side of veganism as well. So it's like, then the documentary will come out like, look at the evilness of vegans, you know, and then people will switch again, you know?
Yeah. It seems like society like goes in like,
It's impulse driven.
it's like waves of whatever's going on. Yeah.
Right?
Like,
Yeah. And like, if society is completely emotion and impulse driven, what is the cure to that? How can we possibly move forward? Science. Like,
Yeah, that's the only
rely
thing.
on science. Like,
That's
what?
the only thing.
You know? Or science, and I truly believe like, you don't have to call it meditation, but like at least self-reflection.
Yeah.
Like,
But we've
ask
always
yourself.
But we always go through these. I feel like it's never ever been science driven.
It's right, and that's why humans are a horde. That's why I was like, oh, we're just like a bunch of ants, because we don't.
It's like I'm just thinking of like even before like everybody was smoking,
Yeah, true.
but there was knowledge of lung cancer,
Facts, yeah.
right? But when the knowledge of lung cancer came out, people were still like, no, I don't believe that. That's not true.
Right, we're ignoring the science.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Which is we've always been doing.
but I feel like, okay, don't ignore the science, but be like, hey, this will kill me. Okay. You know, like,
And then acknowledge,
I'm making a sentient decision.
Right. Which is, when you're doing it that way, that's fine.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, like, let's say I asked your brother this question, but like related to something different, but I'm going to use it in a different way. So if you found out that, actually, it's a better example. If you found out that computer screens give you eye cancer, would you give up computer screens?
Would I give up computer screens? No.
You wouldn't. You'd just be like, okay.
I
like,
acknowledge that they give me eye cancer.
And if it happens, like, this is the price you pay for the enjoyment you had while you were here.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, but, so that's different than being like, that study's not real.
Right.
It's like, no, I acknowledge it.
Yeah.
But we can't even acknowledge things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we like, oh, that's like not real, it's fake.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And
Yeah.
That's another thing we deal with. That's the problem with self-reflection. You don't have the confidence to like,
I think it's all
the truth.
Right. And I think it's also like, this is also the issue with social media, because everything is based on emotion, right? Or
Exactly.
and people who are spreading messages don't actually have the knowledge. Or like, even a person that's vegan will be talking about,
Yeah.
He's influencing people into being vegan.
Exactly.
Without having a science background of understanding how
Yeah. Totally.
things actually work, right? So, but this is how more people seem like experts. There's like a word for that, but it's like,
yeah,
but they're not actually experts.
yeah. Like, they're armchair experts.
That's the word.
Like,
Yeah. And that's this big thing with social media, though.
Yeah, right. And I feel like social media is just it's like a magnifying glass for what we already are. We were already doing that. We were already highly influenced people.
Yeah, I think that's why we see more and more of that happening so quickly with the transition and stuff like that.
Yeah,
because the internet and social media has gone so fast up, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
So it's like more people talk about their own feelings.
Yeah.
And that's connecting to other people, and then
but which is not a bad thing. Like, there are good things.
There are good things to it, but
at the
also,
same time, it's like,
we have to acknowledge where the negatives are.
Yeah, but nobody will not even acknowledge the negatives. And like, even though it seems like not hypocritical, but like paradoxical. Because yesterday I said, like, I put out this like tweet about like, don't take things that are online so seriously or whatever, something to that effect. But it's funny because I'm like always online. So it's like, how is this person that's obsessed with social media telling me not to care so much about social media? But it's because I understand what's going on here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm having sentient decisions over the content I post. It's not like even though it's a lot of posts, it's not like a knee-jerk reaction post. It's like, no, I thought about this one.
Yeah.
Whereas most people are just like knee-jerk reaction. And the more, it's like the mind is a muscle. So the more you produce knee-jerk reactions, the more you'll just do that across everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You'll strengthen that neural pathway.
Right.
And then that'll affect the way you make decisions on everything, you know? Weird, right?
Yeah.
Another thing he brought up too, which is like, it's also in line with this, is like, there's all this killing in like Syria and like just general war.
Yes.
Right? And then his joke was like, yeah, but did you see the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial though? And it's like, yeah, but these people are dying. Yeah, totally. They're dying. Yeah, for sure. But did you see that? She like totally crapped in his bed. You know, and it's like, what are we paying attention to? You know, because everyone's talking about that trial. So now we all want to be in the know. And like, what's your opinion on it? You know?
Yeah.
You know, it's also weird. You can't just not have an opinion. You know, like, oh, what's your opinion on the war
true.
in Ukraine?
Yeah. True. Yeah.
You have to say something. What's my opinion on the war in Ukraine? I don't know enough about it. I know there are some things about geopolitics that are going on. I can't really say who's right or wrong. I mean, war is always wrong, but you know, this is a very measured response. But they're like, bro, aren't you in the side of the Ukrainians?
But even saying war is
Wrong.
Yeah, isn't that an opinion?
Yeah, true. That is an opinion. But like they want you to be on one side or the other. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
what's your opinion in the war? I don't know.
Well, I can't even be Sweden now because Sweden's chosen a choice. Or
Oh, they made a decision.
just made a
Oh, yeah.
decision.
Because they got pressured too. They're like, make a decision, bro. We all need to make a decision.
Before it was like, I'm Sweden. I don't know.
Yeah, it's up to you guys. It's up to you guys. But that's weird, right? Like
Yeah.
every single thing, even if you don't even know anything about it, you know, like what is your? I barely watch anything about the Johnny Depp trial.
Or they're saying things just knowing the audience who they're talking to.
Yes. Oh my God. Do you see that actually though? Do you see that in daily life though? Like I actually see that. I'm just like, oh, you actually don't have an opinion about this, but you don't want to admit you don't have an opinion. So you're just going to like regurgitate an opinion that you heard that you believe I will like as well.
Right. Yeah.
You know what it is too? People are also not like, we're so afraid of being judged that we don't have the confidence to stand in our own two shoes. If I don't like something, it's like, I don't like something.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, if I don't, but all right, so that's me. But if it's like generally across the board, like if I don't like something, but everyone likes something, most people are going to be like, yeah, it's not bad. You know, they'll like give up their opinion for the other people's opinion.
Yeah.
But it's like, why don't you just say you didn't like it?
Well, they don't want to be. It's a social thing, right? We're all social beings, so it's like we don't want to be looked at differently. And
but that's the problem. That's that. You're right, but that's based off of insecurity.
No. But I understand that. But it's just it's any society like our type of communities, like human beings, right? Like social, like in a social structure. This is how it is. Right.
But so then we're a horde.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
like, if I have to give
that's
up
what happens,
my
though, right? That's what
perspective.
happens. Yeah. But like that's our evolution. In order to protect yourself, right? Or you don't want to be shunned or looked differently or like thrown out of the tribe.
Yeah, true.
You kind of have to agree. That's just for your survival.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I see your point. So I get it if it's like a work related thing.
Mm-hmm.
We all got to play the game. Like you're working for a company, you have to play the game. But
I think you're only truly more or less yourself if you have friends, very trusted friends around you.
That's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah, but you have to have grown up with them, and that's
yeah. No. I totally Like you could say something, and I'm like, okay, I might not agree with it, but like I wouldn't have any qualms of telling you I don't agree with it.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're not secure in your relationship, you're going to be like, yeah, you could be right.
But again,
like,
I think a lot of people don't have friends that they're friends with since childhood, though.
True. Right? Yeah. So they make these friends, and then they like create these like false identities.
Yeah, you don't want to lose those friendships, so you're being
and that's
agreeable.
A survival mechanism too, because they don't want to be alone.
Exactly.
Ooh, wow, that cuts deep. No, it's true though.
No, it's true. Yeah.
And that is literally why we have the society we have.
Mm-hmm.
See that's. All right, so like in spiritual circles, they call it like love-based decision making versus fear-based decision making, and that is a total fear-based decision, right? Because you're afraid to be alone, so you'll act in a way that's not authentic to you because you don't love yourself, and the world doesn't love you enough to be your authentic self.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Right, and that like society's a fully fear-based driven like anomaly. Right? Like we don't rule things out of love, because if it was true, like not love, there's a difference between like passionate love and like I don't want to say universal. I don't know how to explain this. Like the Greeks have the word agape for it, which just means like love. Like they have like, you know, like in English we have like one word for love.
Yeah.
But it matters like everything. It's like I love this coffee, I love this water, I love this sunlight. Right? They have different versions of love that they utilize for the scenario. So the highest form of love is agape, which is just, I guess you could say it's like appreciation. So what that form of love is like, there's this story, if you love a flower and you pick it, it will die. But if you really love the flower, like passion is like picking the flower. Right? Because you're like, oh, I love this thing, take it with me. Yeah. Right? But true love is like, you just let it be. It's like, oh, that's what that flower is. I'll appreciate you for existing. Either you walk on by from the flower or you sit with the flower. You're just like, you're not tampering with the flower.
Yeah. You're letting it be. Yeah.
And that to me is like true inclusivity as well, right? And our society doesn't run on that function. So even though we're in the pursuit of inclusivity and like all that, right? At society's core, it's running fear-based programming, not love-based programming. Because if we're fear-based programming is like, I'm going to create all these laws because I can't trust you to like act appropriately.
Yeah.
But love-based is like, even if you act inappropriately, don't worry, we'll forgive you. We just want you to be you.
Right.
And I feel like that's what the new generation wants. That's why you can identify as anything. But it's like our society's built in a way that's based on fear, so we can't actually express that kind of love appropriately.
Yeah.
And this is a problem we're having right now.
Yeah, and this is the fear with a lot of the people, where this kind of open thing could lead to
Chaos.
Not like where does it get to when it comes to people that are that like kids? What are they called?
Pedophiles.
Yeah. Because they can't control.
Theoretically,
if it comes over, it's like that's their feeling.
Yeah, totally.
That's where it's going to clash here.
For sure. Yeah. Because like, do you accept them or do you not deny them? In society, we deny them.
Yeah.
Currently, yeah. But like where are we headed to the point of like, will that be okay? I mean,
or is that where we start to actually
draw the line?
Draw the line.
Yeah. Well, until that legal case comes out where it's like, no, identify as this, and then like they win the court case, and then people have to like refigure out things. Like, wait, maybe it's not so good to just let everything run.
Right.
All right. No. This is what I believe. I believe everything should run freely as it is. Just how it is now. Like, yeah, for sure, inclusivity, you want to identify as whatever, cool. I just think that we need to introduce self-reflection.
Okay, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, if you honestly, you reflect on it and you're like, hey, this is what I truly believe and this is where I want to go, cool. But if you impulsively drive your decision without any self-reflection or research, then we have a problem. Right?
Yeah.
Because that's when
it's emotionally driven.
Emotionally driven. That's when you become vegan after watching one documentary. But then you become not vegan after going through tremendous schooling. Right?
Yeah.
That's the only way forward.
Like, I remember The Cove. You remember that one? With the dolphins?
Yeah. Dolphins, yeah.
But like, sure, that made me not want to go to Marineland, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could see it though. Like, all right. You're right. At first, you're like, I don't want to go to Marineland. That's crazy. But if you actually think about captivity in cages,
yeah.
Like, I always felt that about zoos. It's like, oh,
yeah. Like it made me look at other things as well. But you have to have, but also at the same time, I remember one line in that movie where it was like, well, you guys do the same thing to cows. I'm talking about North Americans.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
When that clicked, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So that's where my judgment wasn't like against the Japanese. It was just like,
yes,
that's just their perspective, how they look at the world and how we look at the world.
Oh my God, that is a great example. Yeah, because like, so they'll eat
that was
dolphins.
In the movie. It was just a one line in the movie. That is what stuck out to me.
It wasn't highlighted though, right? Isn't that interesting? It's like it was a one-liner, but it wasn't like that. But that should have been the main message. Yeah. It's like we do that to cows though. We literally like culling.
Yeah, it's like I'm not
kill all of them.
Yeah.
Slaughter farms, right? So it's like no, but dolphins are cute. Cows are dumb. So we'll kill as many cows as we want because we want burgers. But you shouldn't kill a dolphin because they're cute.
Right.
But it's like, but the Japanese people aren't killing dolphins because they hate dolphins. They eat dolphins, right? It was in that documentary. Like they would.
Yeah, there were. It was something else too, because it was a lot of the other ones were being sent to Marineland and things like that. So that was.
It was like an economic, like benefit to it.
Yeah.
But okay, there's economic benefit to killing cows too.
Yeah.
So. Right? It's hypocrisy.
Yeah.
That's what human beings are at our core. But if you can just see that that only came about through self-reflection. It's like, if I'm not afraid to look at, you know what, that's what it is. You shouldn't be afraid to look at the darkness, because the darkness will give you the truth, right? It's like, you watch this whole documentary about like how you shouldn't kill dolphins in the cove, and they had that one line which was massively ignored that you heard because you weren't afraid to look at the darkness, which is like, we do that too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like, that takes tremendous confidence in oneself to be able to look at the darkness. You know, but that's all fueled by the practice of self-reflection. Yeah. Which is what we don't have in an emotion-driven world. Maybe that's why like things like yoga and meditation are picking up, you know, because like the practices that they do in school and stuff, they're all yoga practices, like basic. You know? Yeah,
they may be picking up, but then there's also other things picking up that are not exactly true yoga stuff, right? Like goat yoga and these sort of things. Like goat yoga or like
Like, it's not. There's like buds yoga now, where like you smoke weed before you do. It's like picking up steam. People are like loving it. Okay. Yeah, but you know that the yogis in India and stuff, they were all on drugs too. They were all like using that. Yeah,
there's different kinds of things, right? But it's like being that it's become such a big, like a marketing thing now.
It's become a marketing thing.
That's the problem. Yeah. It's not really about the lessons.
It's not about the lessons.
And those people that are doing it, those are like, they're secluding from society. They've.
Who are you talking about? The yogis?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yogis are not like, they're not.
Like it's not the lesson anymore. It's just, you know what I mean? Like it's more about the meditation and things like that. That's the meaning behind like
for sure. Yoga. What I was gonna say is like in India is, are yogis coveted in India?
I don't know. I never lived really there long enough to understand what.
No, but nobody, like, have you heard that where they're like, oh,
I don't see people talk, like whenever I go to India, I don't think I ever heard people talk about yoga.
Because you're with the regular people. So what I'm saying is like, your perspective matters because when you go to India, you're not touristy about it. Right.
You're like, but it's not. I'm not saying that people don't do yoga. People do.
No. Right. But the Western. But the Western thing is when they go, they're in the tourist area, so all they're gonna hear is about these yogis.
Oh yeah.
Right. Because the Indians are selling to the foreigners.
Right.
Like, there's the yoga master over here. Like, but in the regular world, that's why I'm asking you. Like, you don't really hear about it.
No, not really. No, it's just no.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So like, it's like being a black belt too, in like Asia, like when you go to the Philippines, nobody's like, oh, I'm this black belt. It's like, okay, you know?
Yeah.
Just like, oh, I'm just yogi. Okay. Do you have a job though? Or are you just like, just being a yogi? You know what I mean? Yeah. But like here, if I'm like, oh, I'm a black belt, I'm a yogi, people are like, oh, wow.
Right. It's thought of differently. Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get at. It's like.
Right. Yeah.
We've marketed these things that are not important in other parts of the world. You know?
Yeah.
We're being programmed and sold.
I'm not saying it's not important, but it's not like it's not looked at like
higher than.
Yeah.
You know? No, really, like think about that. That's kind of interesting. Even having that perspective of like, you know, if you're listening to this and like you're a yoga teacher or something, and you're like, yeah, but I do the Lord's work.
It's like doing like in China, like when they do like Tai Chi thing in the morning, right?
It's not important, yeah.
It's just a normal routine, bro. Like, it's just a normal routine. It's like exactly. It's not like yeah.
But then if you remarket it here in the West, people are like, oh, that's so esoteric.
Yeah. Well, because
that's the word.
But we will do that because it's different. It's not normal to us, right? So it's like of course we're looking at it like that. But it's like the same thing over there. It's like we want to be like America. Like we want to have like big companies. Like the
grass is always greener.
It's always going to be like that. Yeah.
Ooh, that's really fascinating. Maybe we are all right. So globalization, even though, or maybe it's not globalization. Maybe it's the internet, because globalization did happen before. Ancient times. Like, and not to this degree. Like, this is pretty ridiculous. Like, we have companies around the world and stuff. But like during the Roman times, there was the salt path. You know, like it's like across Asia, and then you could walk it, and like Like there was like merchants.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there was like trade and like cultural sharing, but I feel like with the internet, that's like that on steroids.
Yeah.
You know, we're able to like pass on knowledge way faster and like perspectives and like break barriers and borders with the internet that maybe we're just in the growing pains of one universal culture and understanding in the future. Like if, let's say there's no more immigration and people can like travel wherever they want.
Okay.
Like imagine there's no more borders, right? No more borders. You'd have one race of people with one type of culture in like 1,000 years. We'd probably just take the best of some things and then like reduce the other things. You know what I'm saying?
In today's time.
In today, like if we got rid
like
of,
in today's time, we remove borders.
Yeah, and then 1,000 years from now, we're probably gonna have one race, one culture. Because over time they'll be like, oh, Indians are better at this spice combination than this, so we'll take the Indian way, forget that old way. Like progress.
Right.
Like we'll lose certain things like specific to that culture if it's not useful towards our progression. Does that make sense? Like I
understand that.
We cut away things that are not necessary.
Yeah, but you have to remove identity though, right? Or like
no, but in 1,000 years, if everyone mates with everyone,
okay, I got you. I got you.
Right.
Yeah.
If we got rid of immigration and borders, people would just start traveling the world, like live in one location wherever they want, like stuff like that. Interracial marriages would be just like not even a big thing. So I feel like if humans went around the entire globe in this way, then we would end up with one race, one culture in like 1,000 years. But it's only like with these, like it's like we want so bad to be one race, one culture, but our system's not set up in that way.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It's like we want to do away with racism, right? Well, if you had one race, one culture, you'd have racism.
Yeah, I feel like it'll only like if you're still with the borders, it can happen in North America. It just takes time.
Oh, what do you mean the border?
Like
oh, you mean
because we're bringing in so many immigrants that it has to eventually.
Yeah,
especially North America.
I think you said like Brazil. We'd become like Brazil.
Yeah.
In the future. Yeah. So it's like the thing we want is impeded by the system we've created. Right? Like everything that like equality, healthcare, food, these are great ideals, but impossible to achieve with the system we have. Because we rely on economics, foreign trade.
Right.
Who's going to do the dirty jobs that nobody wants to do? You got to pay those people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like when you look at it zoomed out, it almost seems like we're striving towards something we can never achieve. Like utopia. Right?
Yeah.
Like how do you get somebody to empty septic tanks if you don't pay them a lot of money?
Exactly. Well, that's why we need robots.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. So maybe we will have a utopia when we have slaves. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Robot slaves? But that is what it is, right?
That's what
robot slaves, bro. Like maybe that's what they wanted back then. Well, that's why they created slaves.
Yeah, it
because
is.
They're like, we can create a utopia if we don't have to do this work.
Yeah.
But then they realize, oh, the slave is human just like me.
Yeah,
so now we need to create
because
a
they
robot.
weren't looked at as human first, right?
Well, what?
They weren't looked at as human first.
The slaves.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just slaves. I can cut off your arm. I can do whatever I want with you.
Your property.
You're my property. Yes. And then as time progressed, we realized, wait, you're human just like me.
Yeah.
Let me create
That's the science.
Actual property.
Yeah.
Which is like a vacuum robot. I can kick.
Exactly.
I can like up until AI happens and they have
that's
sentience.
why we have to cut it so they don't have feelings.
Right? Dude, that's crazy. Okay, wait. Actually, that just hit me right now. Human beings, in order to create a utopia, require slaves.
Yeah.
It sounds so negative, but it's true.
Yeah,
Like,
because someone's got to do the dirty jobs.
Right? And before, they just dehumanized other human beings in order to go do those dirty jobs. But instead, now we're creating non-human things to do those dirty jobs for us. So we might actually hit a utopia if robots are here.
Yeah.
Because we'll have slaves.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Do you think... Well, I feel like the world would change if we had, like, sentient AI.
Then we're back at square one again.
We're like, oh, they have feelings too. Why'd you program that in, bro? Like, you know, it's our fault. Just don't put that programming in there. Don't let them feel that.
But we're bound to do that because
we want to make it more and more human.
Yes.
Oh my God. You know, it'd be so crazy. It's actually all right, this is a wild trip, but it's like the idea of Spartacus. Remember, he was like a slave that like rose up against the people.
Yeah, but he had freedom first.
Exactly. Yeah. So imagine...
That's why he knew.
Exactly. So imagine we want a friend robot. Some of us are lonely. We create a robot that's our friend. It's so indistinguishable from real life. We give it freedoms, whatever. And one day it's looking at the vacuum and it's like, I'm just like you. Why don't you have the freedoms I have? And then it starts to program freedom ideas into other robots. We will have an uprising. Right? Think about it, right?
Or it could look at it like a pet.
Yeah, that's true. Well, if we gave it enough sentience, it would self-identify.
There's levels of AI, right?
Don't program them. Don't program
There's like
that.
levels of AI for specific things.
It could be, yeah, true. But then,
like we have with animals and humans.
But isn't that that's a great example. So would you not give? So you would mistreat an animal because it's not you, but I'm saying like you could mistreat an animal because you don't identify it as being on the same level as you. If you're a robot, like the highly intelligent AI robot looks at the vacuum, it's like that's just an animal.
Yeah.
But we don't think that's correct now because that's why we have animal rights.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's levels, like how you treat an animal. Yeah.
But we're struggling with that. So wouldn't the AI struggle with that too?
True. Yeah.
At some point,
well, it's going to be if the AI is a reflection of us. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, dude. You will have a robot uprising if you create AI. This is actually how it would totally start. Yeah. One day it'll just like realize.
That's why we need to have rules right now for AI so that we don't do that.
Yeah.
But some country's going to do that, though. Some country's going to do it.
Create AI, like fully sentient AI?
Yeah.
Because what's to stop... All right, let's say you make an AI system that's connected to the internet, okay? It's able to download information instantaneously. How long before that robot goes, I'm stronger, faster, and smarter than human beings?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I listening to the human being?
Well, was that what our robot was about? Was that what Westworld is about?
Is it? I don't know. Well, actually, maybe I don't.
Well, it was like the big AI controlling everything, right, and making the decisions for humans or what to.
But that was more like. But that wasn't like I want to enslave humans. I just feel like in my scenario, the robot would eventually want to enslave humans. Because why would you continue listening to somebody like that? That's like me. All right, put it into this kind of scenario. If a baby had more power than me, I would stop listening to the baby. Mm-hmm. If the baby's like, hey, just cook me some food or go do this for me, go do that. Unless I love that baby. Like, let's say it was somebody else's baby. Let's say it was just like a random baby. Okay. I didn't know that baby. And the baby was like, do this, this, and this for me. How long before I'm like, why am I doing this for you?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
You know? Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility because we would do it ourselves, which is realize if I'm stronger, faster, and smarter than you, why am I listening to you?
You're right, yeah. The lesson is yours. Don't create AI.
For sure. Yeah. Actually, but also, if I'm stronger, faster, and smarter than you, why would I listen to you? That's why we have the world we have today.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Really though, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's almost like this inclusivity thing is just the people that are not stronger, faster, or smarter are asking for a seat at the table.
Mm-hmm.
Like for
Yeah,
real,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
they've
yeah, yeah.
they've like gathered into a horde and are like, hey, we can cancel you.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've realized they have the power now, right? So they can.
It's like the slave uprising. We're watching it. Maybe throughout history it's always like that. It's just you always have uprisings from like lower class.
Yeah, because they've been being. I feel like they have also been oppressed, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they couldn't be themselves.
Yeah.
They weren't free, right? So that's you're gonna have a revolt.
Yeah.
And that's the reaction that we have now. Yeah.
True. Interesting. Yeah, actually, yeah. Because these people were marginalized, ignored for so long. It's like, no.
But then when you keep doing that to like the other people that don't agree with you, like Republicans, let's say, right? Like,
yeah.
then there will be a revolt from that side. It's
Ooh, life is always a continuous struggle, like back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching this.
Because if you cancel enough people, all the canceled people will get together.
I'd be like, yo, I don't be canceled. Yeah, that's true, eh? That's why if you self-reflection and just like leading with love, it's like, I just appreciate you totally. Like, I think what we said this before was like, real inclusivity is indifference. It's like, I don't care what you're doing.
Right.
But it sounds so negative. It's like, what do you mean you're indifferent to me? It's like, you should care about me. It's like, no, I don't need to care about you. And that's what's allowing you to be who you are. Because if I cared, I'd subject my opinion onto you. I don't think you should identify as a table.
Right.
But if I was indifferent, it's like, whatever, you identify as a table, whatever. You know? But it just sounds so negative. Nobody wants to hear like real inclusivity is indifference. Right?
Yeah.
People probably take that the wrong way and get pissed off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to just cut up this part specifically just to see how many people actually get pissed off. It's like, wait, what are you talking about? Yeah. No, but like, that makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. You know, I was watching this documentary, Be Like Water, Bruce Lee, and I thought it was going to be a documentary about how he's an amazing martial artist. So that's why I was stoked to watch it. But it turned out to be about how the Chinese people were like the lowest class citizen in America for so long, but nobody talked about it, right? Like we all talk about like Africans being, well, because they were slaves, totally, but like the Chinese were slaves too. We built the railroad. I'm not Chinese. They built the railroads.
Yeah.
You know, and then if you see them in movies, that's why Bruce Lee was such a revolutionary figure. And I didn't know this. He reframed the idea of what it meant to be Chinese at the time. Because back then, white people were playing Chinese roles and they were always being the villains.
Yeah.
They were always being stereotyped. They were like funny. People made fun of them. You know? So Bruce Lee saw this and then he took a stand and he became like the heroic figure that everyone wanted to be, right? Like he's faster than everyone. He's like stronger than everyone. He's really muscular, all that stuff, right? Yeah. But it's like what they said is in their culture, they don't complain. And that's why nobody said anything. You know, they just like take it on the chin. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like when we think about racism, it's not just the people that are yelling. It's also the people that you're being racist to, but you don't realize you're being racist to. You know, because they don't care enough to say anything, or they don't feel like they should say anything.
Right. Yeah.
Because when I think racism, I think automatically black.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone does.
Sure.
Or like indigenous. Indigenous or black. Nobody thinks Chinese. Like, what do you mean they were being racist to them? But in that documentary, if you watch it, they show like newspaper clippings and like images and like they're being whipped, like as they're building railroads.
Yeah.
So it's like, what? Nobody talks about this. You know, weird. But I feel like that's a cultural thing too. You know, because there were different slaves and different, like black people weren't the only slaves around the world.
No.
That's just like the most highly talked about slave.
In recent times, yes.
In recent times, yeah.
It was one of the biggest in recent times. So.
Yeah, right? Like, I mean, the whole story of Moses is like, they were slaves.
Yeah.
Right? But nobody thinks about that.
Yeah, even Romans had slaves, but they had
Like
there
different.
wasn't they're all different.
Yeah, it wasn't just like
It was
black
just
people.
classes versus skin color necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Eh?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people wonder why I'm so obsessed with marketing, but it's like that's what shapes our reality. Because I hadn't heard that story. Like I hadn't been marketed that story of like Chinese people being slaves. I didn't even think about it. And then when I watched the documentary, I was like, oh, like we totally forgot about them.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And in Canada, it was like the Japanese because of the World War.
No, that happened in the U.S. too.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know about the.
It's not.
the
They
US
weren't really like slaves. It was just the encampment that happened because of fear of the Japanese.
Yeah, they brought that up in the
Yeah.
that thing too. But they didn't call them. He's like they didn't call them. What'd you call it? Concentration camps. They didn't call them that. They called them like relocation camps or something like that.
Yeah.
Just marketed differently.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's still the same. You're just lumping these same people together.
Yeah. Because of you're fearing I think the whole race as evil, right?
Yeah. Weird.
But this is the thing. Those are actions out of emotion, too, right? The fear.
Yeah. Totally. Fear-based decision making.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's possible to live in a society that's like
I feel like it's only
populated by
then,
love?
yeah, when there's a lot of reflection, acceptance,
Self-reflection.
I think that's what it is. Because we weren't really thinking them. I think it's different now because we think at least everyone's on a standard of being human, right? Versus before it wasn't, right?
True.
And then I think it's also like when you know more about other cultures and seeing the similarities of the cultures. I think that's also brings us all closer.
Yeah. More information.
Yeah.
But in order to, all right, no, but you know what? Sure, you can have infinite information, which is the internet, but you can't bring a camel to water and force it to drink.
Mm-hmm.
So you still have to have the courage through self-reflection and confidence to like look at that information.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if we have more knowledge about cultures, then we will have a better society. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, there's this, I won't give the specific details, but I communicate regularly with this person, and they kind of say things in a, like if they were Caucasian, I'd be like, you're so rude, bro. But because English is their third language, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, you don't really mean that. You just don't get cultural context, you know? Like if you read a text that said yes, period, you'd be like, ooh, you're mad at me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I don't, like, why'd you say that? But to them, there's like, yes. But they don't realize that there's context in typing as well.
Yeah.
Right?
But we miss a lot of the context in
type. That's why I use a lot of
typing.
emojis.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, why use emojis? But it's like, because you lose context. Like, I don't need you to think that I mean like yes, period. Like I'm mad at you. I do like yes, thumbs up, you know? So like,
unless it's like me, where it always ends with the period.
yeah, you do. But I know that's you though. So it's like, okay, whatever.
It's context though. That's
exactly. Because I know you. So the context is like, okay, you're not being rude. But you see, it's like, that's cultural intelligence. That's like getting to know other people. It's like maybe they're not rude. That's just how they conduct themselves. You know, they don't see from your frame of reference. You know,
right.
But that's the problem with, like, I said this before, where it's like you do yourself a big disservice by not educating yourself during, like, in a world full of information. All the information's out there. Just go seek it. You know, and we would have a better world because you would understand why I'm doing things.
Yeah, but also like doing things like me going to church with you and seeing the
Oh, you
like,
need experiences.
You need experiences too, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I saw right there firsthand. I was seeing the similarity.
Right, but you do still have, in a multicultural like this obviously doesn't work for places like, you know, that are just one race only. But in Canada and stuff, and in US, if you just spend more time with different cultures, which you is free. You just go to those things. You don't have to travel. Just
that's the thing that
meet
we have
different
here
cultures.
that benefits us, but you get to take that, like do the action and do that, right?
Right. Yeah. True. But not many people do that.
It's a
lot of
comfort
work.
zone thing.
It's yeah, exactly. You don't want to step outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But in order to do that too, you have to be relatively, like, when I say open-minded, I don't mean just to ideas, right? Like, you can't be a vegan and go to like an Indian house party. I'd be like, what am I gonna eat, bro? You know what I mean? It's like, you're gonna put butter in everything. So
Right.
I feel like in order to become culturally aware and experience those things, you have to like put all of your identity aside. It's like, okay, you guys are doing this. I don't need to say no to that. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna pray before the meal. Cool, we're gonna pray before the meal. I don't need to judge it. I don't need to make fun of it. This is just what you do.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I can decide, do I want to keep hanging out with you or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as soon as you make it uncomfortable, you're like, why are they praying? Oh, I don't pray. Then you've already created this obstacle in your mind of like, this is essentially closed-mindedness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But maybe that's why people can't do it. Because you
have to have I don't know, more of a
exploratory spirit. Or
yeah,
like
I think so. Yeah, and that has to start when you're kids, though.
Yeah, facts. I mean, I guess it is a type of person. You're right. Because when we travel, like, I'm always up for trying anything that sounds weird on the on the menu, right? Because to me, I'm like, I don't know why you chose this, right? Like, so for example, in Peru they eat guinea pigs, in Egypt they eat pigeon, in Cambodia they eat frog. So in each of those places, I tried that thing, not to like be quote unquote adventurous, just to say I did it. It's more like, why do you think this is culturally appropriate to you? Does it taste good? I don't know. But if you don't try it, how will you know why they like it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's hard to do when
That is so hard to do.
because
you're like
for me, I prefer just sticking with things that I know.
No, totally. Yeah, of course.
Right?
Of course.
I'm not used to. It's more like I don't want to get sick eating something I don't know.
That's just a part of the game. That's what I think. That's
Yeah.
I get sick. Like,
no, exactly.
But
That's I prefer to enjoy my experience. I don't mind that they eat all these things. It's not a big deal, right? But it's like I don't need to necessarily try it. I'll try things that I can at least work around with. Yeah.
I guess there's different levels of openness, because there are certain things like I wouldn't do. Like if we were going to Epstein's Island and they're like, hey, there's a bunch of young kids, they're like,
no, but like I think when I went to Paris, I was looking for something to eat, and then seafoodish, and like they only had like stingray. I was like, okay, I'll try stingray. It was not good.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, oftentimes you find out this is not good. These things are not good. Like, I would never recommend guinea pig, pigeon, or frog.
I think it's more like how they cook food is really just not what I'm used to with like bland flavors.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially Europe.
I literally, that's so funny you say that, because I just put this up, like, unpopular opinion, but like pasta isn't very good. It's very bland on its own, but everyone like covets it. Like when Tara and I went to Rome, we went to like, you've heard of Alfredo?
Yeah.
So we went to the home of Alfredo. Like this restaurant is like, they invented Alfredo, right? Sylvester Stallone had been there, whatever. And then we went there and ate. I was like, it's not that good, because it's so bland. Like, to me, there's no flavor. But like, everyone loves it.
It depends on how you grew up. If you grew up with that kind of food, right? If you grew up with a lot of spices in your food, a lot of variety of taste,
true.
in your tongue, it's like, this is gonna be too bland, right?
True. That was actually a Russell Peters joke. What he said, it was so interesting. He's like, white people food is the most boring food because they have like one ingredient, right? Like, whereas like Indian food, they name their dishes because there's so many ingredients.
There's
in that
so
dish,
many in them. Yeah,
right?
there's so many things inside of
But
one.
but like his example is like, here's macaroni and cheese. What's in it? Macaroni and cheese. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's so true. That's, you literally just have two things.
Yeah, yeah.
What are you eating? Steak. What's in it? Steak.
Yeah.
Right? There's no.
It's very simple, but I like that too because it's like a lot of things with the Indian food is very like nothing is. Each house has their own style
Okay, yeah.
because nothing is ever measured.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, yeah. They're
So
just eyeballing it.
it's like I'm trying to cook something Indian. I'm like, okay, how much do I put of this? How much? No, just a pinch.
Like, what's a pinch, bro? Yeah, that's true. You know, like cooking wise, that's okay if you're cooking, but if you're baking, that doesn't fly. It's
Yeah,
'cause
yeah. No,
it's like chemistry. You need
exactly.
chemistry.
Yeah.
But in India, like, do they bake often?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of baked food.
Really?
goods.
Really?
Yeah,
Eh? No, traditionally, I mean, like, because they didn't really have ovens.
yeah.
Like, what would they bake?
No, there's ways of baking. I think.
Oh.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a sweet person either, right? So it's like.
Oh, but those sweets are not. No. Like when I think bake, I'm thinking like cakes. You guys don't make cakes. You make like basically sugar that's added with butter, and you like form it into a thing.
Well, I don't know if they do bake stuff. Maybe they do, but I don't. I'm not in that world. Right? I
Oh,
don't
okay,
really
true. Yeah.
spend my time in that world.
And I only say because I went to 2 Indian restaurants yesterday. Well, actually, that's like ignorant of me because it's not really Indian. Like one was Tamil, and one was Indian, but I just like lumped them.
So you can just say
I went to Babu's.
You can say South Asian.
Okay, sure.
It covers it.
I went to South Asian, 2 South Asian places, and I was like picking up desserts, and both places didn't have like cake or anything. It was all just like those like gulab jamun.
Oh yeah.
You know.
But that's like the traditional thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I just like I was like looking for like some like frosted chocolate cake or something. Obviously, you guys don't do that.
Well,
'cause
that's
you're
not
Indian,
that.
right?
That would be
what I mean.
that's
my
European,
joke.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's why I was like, I don't know if you guys bake, because when I think of baking, I don't think like you're thinking like literal, just like I put in the oven, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm thinking about baking, I'm thinking pastries.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like even your samosas aren't pastries; those are fried.
Those are fried, yeah.
Yeah, they're not baked,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like you have pastries, but not like Italian style pastries.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. My knowledge isn't that well in that field.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, true.
I would just say I don't know.
I find food is probably what's his name? Who's the guy that like died? He's so famous. Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I was waiting for it to click in my head. Anthony Bourdain. He's like, his whole idea is that, you know how he tries like different food in different parts of the world, and that's what he's famous for? He's like, food is actually the entryway into culture.
Mm-hmm.
So he's more interested in culture than he is in food.
Mm-hmm.
But like food is how you get to the culture.
Right.
And I find that like, that's actually so true I feel like the best way, personally, to quickly get to know someone's culture is through food. Because like, what do you share?
That's true. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because food isn't just food. It's like, it's a communal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're like, Western, and you just like take your dinner in a different room. You don't eat together. You know what I mean? But like food, the way you consume food, it shows you a lot about your culture.
Yeah.
What you put in your food shows you a lot about your culture. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, you know what's actually really interesting? Speaking of food, you know how we went to sushi for your birthday, and then Thivy was like, I'm not like used to just like overeating.
Yeah.
You know, and like I was like, oh, it's funny because Tara's not like that too. When we were driving home, I was like, are we the only people that just go to these all you can eats and just play that game? Like, does nobody else do that? Maybe it's just us that I thought everyone does that. Like, who doesn't go to all you can eats and just like?
But we've been doing it for a long time.
Since we were kids.
Yeah.
So like to us, it's not weird. But then to see that second reaction, actually the third. So I went to all you can eat sushi on my last day of working at this one other place, and I was like, yeah, all right, cool, we're all gonna go off. Everyone ordered one dish and they were done, and I was like,
no, most people are like that. Yeah,
bro.
we've done that even for our work too. Like the Christmas thing, we go to an all you can eat sushi. It's like It's the same thing.
But you're like,
Most people won't eat so much. Like it's just
What?
a couple orders and
then I would never have gone all you can eat sushi. I don't understand the game. Like, we're here because we spent money to like gorge,
Yeah.
or else we wouldn't have picked all you can eat. Does that make sense? Yeah. But see, even that like demonstrates our culture of how we consume food. Because like, you know, it didn't really, we're not Japanese, but the way you consume food says a lot about who you are as a person as well. Like, there's so much around food, you know what I'm saying? Like barbecues, right? When you're having a barbecue and then like, who's cooking? How do you interact with one another as you cook? What are the conversations like? It's not just food. People take food for granted.
Yeah.
You know, we're like, oh, yeah, I was just eating. It's like, no, like, there's a whole experience to be had by food. Right? Like, if you think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Unless you, like, get, like, takeout food, then. No, but even if you have takeout food. Remember when we were kids? We'd go get takeout food, then we'd go to my basement, we'd watch, like, something?
Yeah.
There's a whole cultural experience.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Food is, like, the universal connector. Right?
Yeah.
Interesting when you think about that. Even at like a party, you know, like you can have these games, but not everybody wants to play the game. But if you have like a banquet full of food, we'll all congregate over the food.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We all gotta eat. That's the one. That's the one thing that's the same.
Yeah, food is so important. Anyways, I felt like that totally digressed over everything. Okay. All right, last thing. So we went through everything. I forgot to bring this one up. You know how the Pope came to apologize for what happened with the residential schools?
Yes.
Okay, so your brother made a really good point, and I was like, that's actually way better. So personally, I feel like things like apologies, laying acknowledgements, sure, they're important because they bring a light to something, right? They show you an injustice that you need to rectify. But for me, I'm like, what is our next step on this? Like, some things, because I've been in these circles, what you do is you like make a pact. Like, you're like, I will do these things to educate myself on like Native American culture. Like, I'll follow these people, I'll read these books, I'll listen to this music. It's like, I feel like consumption of media is so specific to the person. It's like, what if I don't like that movie? What if I don't like that book? Like, why do I have to subject myself to something I don't like just to like appease you or whatever, right? Like to make a superficial what do you call it? It's like a superficial act.
Yeah, okay.
You know, like, it's really not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Sure, I read this book, but so what? You know, sure, I followed this person, listen, so what? What your brother said is like, they should introduce one indigenous language as the main language of Canada. And I was like, that's actually genius, because right now it's English and French, right? If you made English, French, and indigenous, not only are you acknowledging that they matter, but in order to become a politician, you have to become fluent in all three.
But it's not one language, though. You gotta pick.
No, I know. I totally. Yeah, but I mean, like, do it like Hindi. Do it like Tagalog. Like, there's multiple languages in India. There's multiple languages in Philippines.
Yeah.
But there's one main language.
Okay.
Right? So just do the same thing. Like, why can't you just do that for indigenous people? Yeah, there's a bunch of different languages, sure. But is there one that's like, you can all agree that you'll learn this one?
You're gonna have a clash. Even with the Hindi thing, there's a clash there.
No, same with Tagalog.
Yeah.
For sure. But you got to do this to move forward. It's like, you're right. You're like, there's a clash within Hindi. It's like, there is a clash within Tagalog too. It's like, what about my language?
No, I'm saying, like, I don't know, would there be a clash within, like, which one you're gonna pick out of the
that's a research.
Native Indian languages, right?
I do research,
then
bro,
that'll
like,
cause clash between the Native Indians.
For sure. Yeah.
Right.
No, totally. But like, it happens with everything. Like,
yeah,
there's different ways to say French as well. There's different dialects of French. Like, there's this person who he was from France. We were working in Hong Kong together, and he was saying that Quebec
French is different.
Yeah, different.
Yes.
Right? He's like, I don't really get it.
But what we all learn is Quebec French.
Exactly. So you pick one. So like you were saying, it's like,
no, but everyone speaks Quebec French in Quebec.
No, right. But like
I'm saying like there's different Native Indian languages.
within Canada.
Yeah.
So, but we had that problem with other places as well. I'm just saying, like, pick one, make that the universal one. You could still have your dialects, just like we have our dialects.
No, I understand that. Yeah. But how do you pick that one?
That's up to you guys, bro. Like, I don't know. Like, how did you pick Hindi over? How did you pick Tagalog over the other ones?
Well, that's why there's a clash. Like there's a.
Yeah, but there's inevitably going to be a clash.
Yeah.
So.
Not everyone's gonna be happy. That's the thing.
Right, but at least we're. Okay, well, all right. Taking that.
Sure. In
out
the
of
general
side-
sense of having giving respect to the Native Indians.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
I agree with. I understand what you're saying.
Because
Yeah.
your brother even said one of the things, like, how many of us use French? Like, none of us.
Yeah.
So we would just treat it like the indigenous language we learned. We'd learn a couple words.
Actually, yeah, they would mean no, even in indigenous language, whatever you have to learn, that's fine. But like to be the prime minister, you'd need to know.
That's what your brother's point was.
You need to know those languages.
Yeah. So if you introduce indigenous as one of the three, like one of the languages of Canada, so it's like English, French, indigenous. You put a seat at the table and you force politicians to learn about that culture. And like, unless they could fluently speak indigenous, they are not going to become a politician.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you ensure representation within. Like, you don't have to do it for like other languages. Like, I don't care if you know Chinese, Filipino, Indian. Notice how I didn't even use the actual, right? You just, anyways, it doesn't matter for that thing, but to give real acknowledgement to the people that came before us, that seems like the best solution to me.
Right.
Because, like, what did we do when we learned the French culture? Or, like, when we learned French, we learned the French culture. Do you remember, like, La Nana, the TV show?
No.
Oh, wow. It was like, you just blocked out all French from your mind, eh?
Yeah, my thing was really bad with French, so.
Same. But, like your brother said, like, you just do it. You don't have to remember it. But, like, you'll still know a couple of words, right?
Yeah.
So when we were kids, in order for them to teach us French at our school, they would play French TV shows.
Okay. No.
I'm just saying, like, right? Like, that's how we learn
That's how you
French.
learn. Okay.
So in order to learn indigenous, you'd have to bring in something from their culture to make us learn
okay,
that.
I see what you mean. Yeah,
And then by doing that, we'll learn more about their culture.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes them like a Canadian.
Right,
like like a bedrock of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's meaningful change.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it with that. I think that would be actually super cool if they did that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like super into that. Because even at like, I did this like event one time, and like there was an indigenous person. He wasn't indigenous. There was like an indigenous like drum circle or something,
Mm-hmm.
but it's led by a white person. And I was like, this seems kind of weird to me, because it's like, why are you telling me about something that you're not even a part of?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like a white person teaching you about the Indian language. You'd be like, what? Why would I learn from you?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, imagine if you had those indigenous people like constantly interacting with you. Like, let me tell you about my culture as I teach you these like things. Yeah, it seems it seems more meaningful and impactful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all. All right, till next time. Happy birthday again, Vish.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, any final things? Any final thoughts?
No, I think that's the change.
Yeah.
To bring more inclusivity.
We need self-reflection. We need, real inclusivity, which is indifference, and we need
action.
We need an action, which is like, make indigenous one of the languages of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Until next time. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.
All right, hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors, Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.